So we are started. Thank you all for coming today. Welcome to today's Skill Squad session, 9 ways to jumpstart your lifelong learning habits. My name is Erica Reeves, and I'll be doing just a little quick intro before passing it over to our presenters. Skill Squad goal is to bring engaging and relevant opportunities to individuals and teams across the organization, helping each of us develop our 10 essential employability skills in a supportive environment. Today's session is going to be powering your agility, initiative, problem solving, results driven, and self and social awareness, among other skills. We're excited to welcome Justin Lee and Estelle Thielen, lead media designers on Capella's interactive media team. Later, we will post our recording and resources from this session in Workplace and on our SharePoint site, and we'll pass that along to the distribution list as well. Please feel free to chime in through chat at any point, asking questions. We'll be monitoring the chat along the way, and feel free to share your own tips from your experience. And there will also, be a couple other places where we call on you for any feedback or questions throughout the session. So I'm going to turn it over now to Justin and Estelle, and thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, as Erica mentioned, welcome to nine ways to jumpstart your lifelong learning habits. I'm Justin Lee, lead media designer working on our CU course development and interactive media team, and I'm here with.
I'm Estelle Thielen, and I'm co-lead, co-media lead, or there's actually a few of us media leads on the Capella University team, but we have worked together a lot over the years, and we created this framework originally in 2019 to be presented at an OLC Innovate conference, and it was a lot of fun putting it together. We met at a whiteboard for hours across multiple days and really refined these 9 ways based on our experience and our knowledge in the areas. And not to say that we are experts on this, just I think passionate about it, practicing these principles, and they're good advice for us too. So lifelong learning isn't a new concept, but doing it with greater intention can help you stay motivated and bring you more fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So there are many approaches that can be used to help you develop lifelong learning habits. The framework we are presenting is application focused, not just concepts. What action can you take? There are many ways to take action. Each person could do it differently and on their own timeline. And it's really important to apply these contextually as you encounter various milestones in life. So fit this into your life. It's very flexible. Technically, each of these activities, they can be done individually. There's a lot of overlap and interplay between them, as you'll see as we go through the deck. And I guess, the one thing is that the real impact can happen, I think, when you combine them in the right way for you. So during our session today, you can sit back and listen, or you can treat this as a working session. We did post a workbook that goes along with the slides that we're going through and ask some questions along the way. You can feel free to share some of your ideas in the chat as we talk through some things. So let's get started. Justin?
All right, so we'll start with number 1 here. So number 1 of the 9 ways is understanding yourself better. Self-awareness helps you to become a more authentic you. So what does that sort of mean? Really trying to understand what's underneath the surface, things that might even be hidden from you. How would you do this? We've got 2 options here that we sort of came up with. Feel free to post others if there's other things that you might think of in the chat. But for us, option number 1, personality test. That might be your Myers-Briggs type or your Enneagram or some other, if you're geeking out in and you have access to like the MMPI-2 inventory or things, some of those can, deliver a lot of things. Even something as like a BuzzFeed quiz, like which Friends character am I? Oh, I'm the Ross. So maybe that helps to just, gives a little bit of a description of who I am a little bit, or my behaviors and things. So that's one option. The other one would be ask other people that you trust. So friends, family member, a spouse, or your kids, have a conversation. Things like, how do you see me? What are some of my best characteristics? And if you're brave enough, what are some of my worst characteristics, right? What are the things that I'm blinded to, just to really help give you a more holistic picture of who you are, sort of underneath the surface there. So again, are there other options, other things that you might think of on how to better understand yourself? I'd love to hear if there are anything that bubbles up now or through the session. But why would we do this? The more you know about yourself, the more authentic you that you can be. And again, that's sort of what we're wanting to do, getting out of your own way in some ways. It helps to make the decisions that you make, the goals that you set, to be more impactful. And it helps to get you closer to that ideal me. And we'll get into this a little bit more after this step that's actually coming in number 2. But first, take it a step further, be brave and share what you find out. Maybe maybe it's a combination of option 1 and option 2. You find out about your Myers-Briggs and you share it with somebody else. I know myself, I connected with Estelle a lot, a number of years ago when we both shared our Myers-Briggs. For me, I'm an INFP, not that dissimilar from what Estelle is, if you want to share.
Oh, yep. I'm an ENFJ. So we're kind of introvert, extrovert, although I'm kind of in the middle on that. And then the N and the F are the same. And then you've got what, perception, and I've got judgment. So just a slight variation on that, but yeah, very, very similar. I'm the protagonist in terms of the ENFJ framework.
And you mentioned Enneagram too.
Yeah.
I'm type 2 out of, I think, 9 types. So that is the helper or caregiver, which again, it's so weird. It's like reading the description. It's like, that actually sounds exactly like me and how I think and behave. Estelle?
Yeah, actually it was my sister that was kind of playing around with Enneagrams stuff before I was, and she told me she thought I was a type 6, which is the loyalist, and I really didn't want to believe it. And then I read because there was, maybe the description I read wasn't quite what maybe I was thinking. But when I read the description, it was kind of scary. It was very, very accurate. So it is kind of fun, I think, to share these with your family, with your friends and peers, and kind of find out, what are they, what are you? It's just it's very insightful, right? For like how you can, for your relationship with them, how you interact, how you could communicate, all of those things. So, I do geek out over these two, and I really love talking about them. So.
Yeah, I mean, it spurs up some really fun, engaging, almost wall breaking down, or, not,
Yeah,
it's like a safe way of being vulnerable in some way. You know what I mean? So it might be a way to coworkers or friends, more acquaintances might be an easy way to sort of connect in some way, sharing some of that and getting to know others as well. I realized I didn't advance the slide at that moment, so I'll try to do better this next time. But that moves us into, just like I was mentioning, the ideal me. What we're quote unquote this concept of the ideal me. Number 2, defining your ideal me. It's crucial to define where you want to go to help guide you on your learning journey. It's sort of like a GPS. If you don't know your destination, it's hard to take steps and to move into who you want to be, or who you want to be, your ideal me, the person that you're sort of trying to achieve, right? So how would you do this? So again, I imagine this being sort of a collage. Again, that's my own interpretation of how this might be. You might have different ideas of how it might, what the result of this activity might be. But again, defining your current me, I imagine it's like a way of capturing your strengths, your maybe some weaknesses or gaps, different interests that you have currently. Again, this is about capturing where you are, your point A right now, values that you have, different past experiences that have helped to shape you and who you are. Sort of putting that together, whether that's, you can find it's about also finding the right tool. Is it a slideshow where you can put images and text and things? Is it a Word document? Is it pen and paper? Are you cutting out magazines with some paste and glue and doing it on like an arts and crafts project? All of that is awesome. Get creative with it. And then step 2, after you create your sort of point A, your current me, is then to define your ideal me. So this might have things like aspirations, areas you want to improve, goals you want to achieve, different experiences you want to have, maybe some motivational quotes or images that inspire you, that kind of thing, to sort of put together this thing that captures your ideal me. Why would we want to do this? So again, it's better to be, it's a way to be better, more authentic version of ourselves, because we're actually trying to map out, and pause and take a moment to sort of imagine, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, retirement, whatever that duration is of who you want to be, sort of putting that together. And having your sight set on something can really help you push through it and act sort of as a guide as you move through this journey called life. So that is number 2. So we'll get to number 3 here. So number 3 is capturing your journey. It's hard to know where you've been and use anything you've learned if you don't keep track of it. So with that, then, why would we want to do that? We're all going through this thing, this experience called life. We get busy, we get distracted by a lot of things. We get in the muck of life sometimes, and we don't sort of take a pause to sort of step back and take a look at what's going on, or pause and reflect and capture, whether it was a positive experience, a negative experience, or somewhere in between, the different events that occur, things that we thought about, things that we thought we could try, or things we tried and failed, or tried and went well. Capturing all that really helps to become a arsenal to go back to and to learn from. If you're not capturing it, you're just sort of letting all this insight and this rich information, left off to the side, where actually, if you could capture it, in some way. And again, here we talk about how finding the right tools. And again, it might be digital, it could be physical, so it could be a journal, like a physical journal or journal app, a notebook or a notes app, a calendar, a planner. You could record video or a voice of like, yep, I'm just going to sit down and, pop open my YouTube and hit create video and record a video. You could keep it unlisted or private or whatever, and capture your stuff that way. You just talking to yourself to, capturing that. Maybe it's a document, a slideshow, pen and paper. There's a lot of options there. Are there already tools that any of you in the audience use to capture things like this, like, a journal, or, a daily planner or a weekly planner or a monthly planner, things like that? Let's see. And finding the right time to do this, is there a certain cadence, a certain rhythm to your life that you could be like, yep, maybe it's on the weekly, maybe every Sunday night, I'm going to capture some of the things that I might have learned or taken away from the experiences I had in the week, and maybe highlight the things that I want to continue doing in yellow or green, and maybe mark red the ones that I want to stop doing, little things that then eventually build up to this rich information that you can use and act on in the future. Again, don't feel bad if you fall behind, if you stop doing it. Try to pick it up as soon as you're able to, because there's value in just simply doing it, whether that is on the weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever that cadence is that's right for you. And we talked about being dynamic and flexible, and again, this is up to you to find what's the right way to do it and when to do it. So I know, Estelle, in our many conversations over the past many years, I know you've worked in and done a lot of journaling type of stuff. Wondering if you could share a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah. Journaling for me has often been kind of a great source of truth. So, sometimes your feelings might be inaccurate. You might feel like, maybe you're beating yourself up a little bit, or you didn't feel like you made progress on something. And then yet, if you've been capturing things along the way, you might look at it and be surprised, because you can remind yourself of all the accomplishments that you've had, or maybe something that you've learned, which just as important, right? So I've found it a great source of truth to go to. Sometimes there's just distortions of truth too. They might come from others. It might come from situations that you're in. But journaling can really capture those patterns that you might otherwise not notice. It just really builds a great awareness, good and bad, what's going on. You can see it over time. You can see things will stand out to you. And so it's just a wonderful tool, I think, for, capturing, your progress and what's going on in your life.
Thank you. No, agreed. I think, I from knowing you and when you have been journaling, there's oftentimes a more intentionality about you. So I've from just co-working with you and being, a friend outside of work as well, I've noticed that when you are doing that, you're a better you, from the outside.
Yep,
So I've seen that
absolutely.
firsthand. So number 4, I will jump to number 4 here. So creating steps towards success. Success does not come with one giant leap, but rather through many intentional steps. So how do we do this? So we wanting to break down these large goals into more smaller, achievable steps. Again, this is just a repeatable, like lather, rinse, repeat kind of exercise. Step 1, ask yourself, what actions can I take to get me there? And in this case, we'll start with your ideal me. Look at your ideal me. What are the things that you need to do? As in, like, what are some big things that you need to do to get to there? So let's say you want to be a CEO of a international corporation, right? Let's say that's one of your big goals on your ideal me. How do we break that down? So first step, what are actions that I need to take to get there? Maybe I need to get an advanced degree. Maybe I need to develop a international network of professional peers. And let's take that last one, for example. We'll take that. Let's ask that question again. What actions can I take to get me to that point? I'll need to know both international people. I'll probably need to practice and get a local network first. So let me find, and now I have a task of I need to create or be involved in a local network. So from that, I need to find out, maybe ask yourself again, that what actions can I take to get me there? So I need to research, local professional events that I can attend to. Maybe reach out to some potentially mentor people and build some relations, invite some people to coffee. So it's like, again, just sort of asking this question over and over again at what you come up with, to narrow things down to things that you can maybe take action on tomorrow, or in the next week, or in the next month, that isn't like this giant big leap, right? So that's that. Again, the worksheet has a really good spot to do this sort of 3 rounds of this in there. But why do we want to do this? Again, having smaller goals helps to make them more achievable, and really scaffold those goals to help make you more prepared to achieve those bigger goals ahead. So without doing these small, bottom of the pyramid kind of goals to build that foundation, those other ones are going to be continuing to feel like moonshot type of goals. But through progressive work, you'll be able to get there. So that's number 4, and we'll move on then to number 5. Identifying boosts and blocks. Identify some quick activities that energize you. So let's see. So with your boosts, what you're going to want to do is put together a sort of a boost toolbox, and sort of have them at the ready, because we're living through life. There's a lot of things that can come up. So might as well put together like a preemptive, be intentional, like a go box or a go bag kind of thing, for life. The different boosts, they might be quick activities that energize you. They might be something as simple as, like, I love, or I get a little oxytocin boost of when I sit and pet my dog for 10 minutes. So that I'm going to add to my little toolbox of boosts. I find maybe doing dishes or doing something simple that I can achieve and cross off gives me a little bit of motivation to then go and do another task, and sort of capitalize on that extra motivation that I felt, in completing a simple task. And then blocks, it's inevitable that the human experience that we have, there are challenges, there's going to be setbacks. So let's plan for them. So the idea with identifying blocks is to, again, look back at the journey you've been capturing. So again, this is where this one sort of pairs really nicely with capturing your journey, number 3. Looking back through that, your journey, to say, are there roadblocks? Are there things that I've been getting hung up on more often than not? And is there themes or commonality when I'm, that do not support me in success, that instead draw me down or get me stuck in some way? Like for me, I struggle with procrastination. I find things to distract myself, other activities. So again, like I just mentioned, maybe there's a boost, like going to do my dishes removes that temptation, or, it removes those distractors, that all that I have left is actually, bite the bullet and do the thing in front of me that I'm procrastinating on, right? So there's little things where, like, stream of consciousness, writing versus, I have to do an outline, or I have to write a big paper, or do something that actually just starting to get something out there sometimes is valuable. So why do we do this? Again, small wins build confidence, and they can really carry you through into other, that confidence that you have, that motivation can carry into tasks that you're doing after that as well. And it helps to push you through those difficult tasks. It gives you that little rocket fuel, that boost to get you through, hence the name boost. They can also help clear your mind and move on rather than being stuck in the quagmire or mud. If you've ever been, at the mercy of life and you get anxious and have maybe even a small panic attack or things, sometimes it's good to be like, I have a standard operating procedure. I go to my toolbox of boosts and I open it up and I pull something out and I use it. You know what I mean? And it helps break me from that cycle of just that downward cycle of just sitting in that anxiety or panic, right? So it's just a way to sort of break that and allow you to move forward versus just simply sitting there and being stuck. Estelle, you had some things to share.
Yeah. So I just, as someone with a lot of interruptions during the day, which I'm sure many of us experience, it just really helps if I am very careful to set my intention for the day. And so it might just be as simple as recording or writing down 1 to 3 things that I want to achieve. And I'm sure we've all heard this before, but it's really helpful to keep that front and center. And then, as I'm getting distracted throughout the day or whatever, and I can just keep going back to that to kind of refocus my attention and my energy and sort of make sure that I'm still making progress towards that intention. And I think we talked about this before. It's the eat the frog. Also, it kind of plays into this. I just feel like if I can get that one of those things done, maybe that daunting thing done first, I can't always, but if I can do that, the rest of the day and any accomplishments that I make just kind of end up feeling like a bonus. So just, you said this before, it's just about really trying to be intentional with your time and working through any of those down feelings or downsides, with boosts, and also being proactive with the blocks by setting the intention. So.
Yeah, and I want to sort of address the little conversations that's happening in the chat as well. Christine, you mentioned, would kayaking be a boost since it's not something you can do quickly? I think boosts can come in different, a spectrum, right? A thing like, yeah, on the weekend, on a Friday afternoon after work, I'm going to go clear my mind and reward myself, or clear my mind from anxiety from the week, or reward myself from a good productive week. Go kayaking or something like that, or on a weeknight afternoon, or a weekday afternoon, or on a weekend. And that, something large like that can also have a lot larger carryover of refreshness, of feeling like a little bit of a reset, and be able to come and attack the problem come Monday with new eyes, new vigor. I think I definitely think something like that. Again, it's what works for you. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. So if you would claim kayaking is that for you, I think do it. But that moves us to, oh, sure.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to agree with that. I think anything that refreshes you, no matter when you do it, can be a boost to your week or your work day, whatever, even if it's outside of the day. But that's all I was going to add.
Yeah. So that sort of wraps up this one, and we'll move on now to number 6, and I'll hand it over to Estelle.
All right. So number 6 is maintaining your progress. So keep moving down the path and check in on your progress regularly. So how do you do this? The one way that we discovered that's really helpful is to have regular check-ins. So it's about taking a step back to review what progress you're making on your goals. It can be quick, but we've found most success when it's regular. So finding a regular milestone to attach this check-in to can really help, whether that's like a quarterly or a season change. Maybe it's monthly when you're doing your budgeting or paying your bills. But thinking of a milestone that you could attach this kind of check-in to, it seems to help the success. So I don't know if there's any milestone ideas you want to share with each other in the chat, but that seems to be a helpful thing. And also at this check-in, it's really good to review your ideal me. So we talked about that earlier. It's sort of am I on track towards where I want to go? And does anything need to change? What have I been capturing along the way in my journey? So if you're keeping a journal or something like that we talked about in number 3, what have you learned? Does this influence any changes? So just taking some time here to, like I said, step back, realign with your goals. How does this realigning these goals and kind of revising things, how does that impact the progress that you're making? Are things taking longer, shorter than you thought? In stepping back and looking at all this, does it help you determine any next steps? So why do this regularly? Keeps you on track and it keeps your mind intentional. The frequency can change based on your needs. We found, of course, life has many changes. If you're in a state of major change, it might be helpful to do this check-in a little bit more often. But I guess the important thing, keep feeding and informing your next steps with current information from these check-ins. That way you can stay relevant and impactful as possible as you're taking next steps. It allows you to act on any fresh ideas that you have and learnings before too much time goes by. And just, keeps you moving with as much energy as you can. So this check-in on your progress, though, it can lead to some big changes. It could lead, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, it could lead to what I call kind of a super check-in or a resetting activity, which we'll talk about in number 9. Or maybe it will lead to a celebration of your accomplishments with your support network. And actually, we will talk about that one next here in number 7. Share your steps and progress. So saying things out loud can motivate you to start taking action. How do you do that? Well, say it out loud, tell others about your goals. It might be that you plan some regular check-ins, meet for coffee once a month, attend social events. And you might find that there's ways that you're already connecting with others that you could bring this conversation into. So social media, I don't know if it's a daily phone call or a happy hour, but chatting with trusted or supportive people in your life about your goals can really help. So I don't know if there's some supportive people in your life that you think you could share your goals with and your progress with. Maybe share some of your ideas about that in the chat. Doesn't have to be a name, but just ideas about that. And why do we tell others? Let's dig into that a little bit more. So it can help to motivate you to start taking action. It definitely builds accountability, right? When you're sharing what you're working on, and it allows those around you to help you achieve success. And gathering feedback from others can help you think of a lot of things that maybe you wouldn't have on your own. Make a better plan. And I know I have a few of these people in my life, but finding a coach or a mentor that you can check in regularly with can really help you stay on track. So those people can really be a point of, helping you identify challenges or considerations, understanding what might be causing any blocks for you, where you might get off course, providing encouragement if you get into ruts, and kind of just to help you keep identifying and taking regular steps towards your goals. Maybe they can help you brainstorm a little bit what you'll try next. But I think one of the big benefits here in this one is, when you do accomplish your goals, when you do make progress, you can celebrate that in community. And if you haven't achieved what you want to, but you learned something, you can celebrate that in a supportive community. That moves us on to number 8, seeking diverse perspectives. So when you're out of ideas, ask someone else. The step is really about engaging people outside of your regular network who can provide some new ideas and some diverse perspectives. So there's power in the diversity of thinking. You might already know some people like this, or maybe, this is maybe you've identified that you need to seek some network opportunities to build this. But are there people in your existing network that could connect you? That might be another way to break outside. Just curious in the chat, or if anybody in the audience, how many of you have already have some people like this in your life? If you do already, that's great. And if you don't, how would you maybe go about building this network up a little bit? So why on this one is, leveraging your support network, your inner network, can really help you explore new ideas and get closer to your ideal me. We've talked a lot about that. But if your support network tends to think a lot like you, then their ideas might be kind of similar to yours. So this can feel safe, but can also be kind of limiting. So reaching outside your regular support network can help you really diversify your thinking even more. And not only that, but it can actually go two ways too. So you might find that you might be a new perspective for somebody else. So whether this is, inside your support network or beyond, when appropriate, you might be sharing your new ideas. And, sometimes this does work like a mutual mentorship, depending on the person and the situation. But other times, maybe this is just a mentorship that's meant to be one way. An expert might be happy to share some knowledge with you, for example. So, just being open to that, I think, is great, and can be a really fulfilling thing. I think the important thing is just that your communication feels genuine, that you can be open with and honest with whoever you're sharing this with. So Justin, I know that you have had a lot of experience in this area. Do you want to share a little bit about seeking diverse perspectives?
Yeah, I'd love to sort of contrast how or what this might look like between, in number 7, the idea of sharing your steps and your progress with more of your closer, like in-group network, people that, your friend group or your coworker, friend group or other things, people that, maybe typically they might think like you, but again, here you're reaching out to maybe someone you don't know. Maybe it's somebody, I was imagining either it's in a professional sense, it could be like someone who has a job that you're sort of, thinking about doing or something like that. So it's not someone that you might know on a personal level, but more of a professional level, or, in your personal life, it could be someone like John, the father of the family down the street. I don't know them terribly personally, but I know of them, where, we wave when we say hi, but, getting somebody, another person's perspective on like, how do they manage their family versus how you do. So going into these conversations might be slightly different. Like Estelle was talking about, they might be more one-sided. You're going there to ask questions and seek advice or seek information or insights that they have to share. So going into it with a plan, with questions prepared, expecting it to be one-sided versus mutual, I think that can help to set up these type of diverse perspectives conversations, more like informational interviews. Like, again, I think they can help set them up for success by being prepared, by being intentional, and coming with a plan, and being appreciative of whatever they have to offer you. I think are just a good mentality going into this. And again, this wouldn't happen quite as often as you're getting together with your in-group network or people, your support network that are more of your friends kind of thing. So
Great. That moves us to number 9, the final way in our presentation. So know when to move up or move on. Is it time for a reset? Maybe a check-in on progress, or some of those outside perspectives that we were just talking about led you to the realization that it is time for a reset. I mentioned this earlier on. This could be considered kind of a super check-in on your progress. So you're determining, whether you've reached your ideal me or reached your goals. And, often, as we find, life events can often change our goals. So sometimes we need to determine, whether those goals need to change, or maybe we need to revise or reimagine our ideal me. You can do that whenever you need to. Maybe, we need to let go of some things that are, or minimize things. Maybe we can't let go of them that are not moving us closer to our goals. And we'll get into a little bit more detail on this in a moment, but it's good to have this check-in. You might find that you want to keep copies of your old ideal me pages, or however you've captured that. Or it can be very empowering to also purge that if you desire. So why is this important? So this keeps you moving forward toward your ideal me and ensures that your ideal me stays accurate. It refocuses your attention and energy to reach your goals, and it allows you freedom to adjust plans as you learn and grow. So I have a kind of a personal example to share on this one. So I was stuck in a space for a while that was just emotionally draining. It had baggage, etc. And I was trying to take action by focusing a great deal of energy on decluttering and trying to make the space work or minimize the impact of the space. And I was just determined. And actually the solution ended up being moving. So, just kind of a surprise there to me. But not that the decluttering didn't help, it did, especially before a move, but getting that space right just wasn't going to happen. And so it was really freeing and just energizing to finally let that go, and be able to move on to the right space. And I know Justin has some great ideas to share on this concept as well.
Yeah, as we were, discussing this more recently, it brought to mind some of the concepts. I saw someone in the chat early on talk about designing your life workshop, and there's a good book and a workbook that goes along with it as well. And I think CU was doing a lot of sessions around a 5-part series on designing your life workshop kind of thing. And I'm not sure how far through SEI it's going right now. But again, if you have a chance, go do that. I think that's a great tie into this. But there's a couple concepts in there. One of them is anchor solutions, and the other one is gravity problems. Both of those are terms that you'll hear in the designing your life thing. Anchor solutions are, I define them as you're so fixated on a certain result, on a certain solution, on something going this way, that you've blinded yourself to other opportunities around you, and instead, because of your fixation, you are anchored in a spot. You're not moving forward. So that idea of sort of like, this would be number 9, the idea of like getting out, taking off those blinders. And sometimes it's your support network or the diverse perspectives or things can help get you back outside of where you're at, and see that so you're kind of like, you can't see the forest through the trees, or whatever that term is. So that idea of sort of removing those blinders and seeing the opportunities that actually might be a better fit for you now, where you were just so fixated on one solution. The other gravity problems is, again, kind of like what Estelle was into. The moving was the thing that was the trigger to the idea of like resetting, moving on, and being like, no matter how much effort I put in here, it's never going to get me to the place I want it to be. But sometimes the gravity problem is that you can't move, like fiscally, financially, you can't, or there's not an opportunity. So if there are situations where you're at the mercy of what it is. So again, that's where the idea of how can I then minimize the impact of that, or how do I do the bare minimum amount of effort so I can adjust and spend my effort in other ways. So again, there's some ties here. So those are just sort of what I wanted to share.
Great. Thank you, Justin. So let's talk a little bit more on how to do a reset like this. So this is kind of about revising that ideal me that you crafted earlier in our presentation, if you're doing it, until it fits where you want to go now. So this may include, setting new goals, and in some cases, letting go or releasing things that are weighing you down, like we just talked about in the example. Maybe you've learned from a recent failure. What are the next steps? Is it to try again with what you've learned? Sometimes it is try again, right? Or is it time did you learn that it's time to actually move on to something else? So good questions to ask. We do have a little activity. It's in the workbook that kind of helps with this process as well. I'll just kind of walk through a couple of the questions here, but feel free to jot some of this down in the workbook if you want to, or in the chat. But think about obligations, activities, tasks, hobbies, all the things in life that you put effort into, and kind of just make a list of those things. And when you have that full list of all the things, are these activities moving you closer to your ideal me? It's a good question to step back and ask. Are there a couple of these items that you find really fulfilling, that help you define how you want to see yourself? Maybe it's good to kind of circle those areas. Maybe those are areas you want to invest, more time. And then on the flip side, is there one or more of these items that you could let go of that no longer serves you? It would free up energy for your new goals. Maybe you can identify one of those things. And sometimes, it'd be great to let go of some of those things that are eating up our time that we don't really enjoy doing, but maybe it's an obligation. Maybe it's something you can't let go of. How can you minimize it? We talked a little bit about that too. Maybe we can't immediately do something or let go of something, but how can we make it better? How can we minimize the energy that it's maybe taking from us? So this can be a very empowering activity. to consider, just take that step back. Am I on track? Am I going in the direction that I want to in my life? What do I need to adjust if I'm not? So big, powerful questions, right? Which leads us to our conclusion.
Yeah, ultimately, here's
Oh,
no,
sorry, go ahead.
I forgot this is your time.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, go ahead. I'll start, you finish.
I jumped ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So here you see all the 9 ways. They're flexible, like we talked about, self-defined. They're up to you to help decide what works and what fits with your life right now. And again, it's up to you to ebb and flow and make this part of your journey towards being a lifelong learner through life, through academics, through profession, through personal life, through your own internal growth, that kind of thing. There's no right or wrong way to do any of these steps. You don't have to do all 9. You can skip around. I'll throw it to Estelle. We'll trade spots if that works.
Yeah. We just, thank you everyone for attending. We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these. If you are trying them out, what you think of them, any learnings, feel free to reach out to us. The workbook that we included can really help you get the ball rolling. I think it's got some good questions in it. So yeah, thank you everyone. I guess I wanted to ask, I know we've been kind of watching the chat as we went through, but any questions that we missed, Jenny, there are any things that you think we should discuss since we have a few minutes?
I don't think I saw any questions come through, just a lot of support and a lot of ideas shared from everyone. And so we're trying to capture some of those things so we can share it out with everyone later as well.
Great. I did see a lot of great ideas and conversation going on, so that's good.
Yeah, and I just asked that question in chat, just if anyone wanted to share anything about any of the steps or ways that most excited them, or that they want to hear more about, or anything that they might find particularly challenging.
One thing that, as Estelle, when you were describing the activity, that's at the bottom of the workbook, that at the end of number 9, part of me was imagining this actually would not be a bad activity to do, almost even like after you define your ideal me, of like getting a where am I spending my time, and like a realignment at that point, could be beneficial before you even jump into the other things. I could see that being, a little like a pre-activity.
Yeah, that's a great point, because that could really help you identify the ideal me to begin with, right? It's kind of good. Yeah. Can you think of number
Jessica
10?
and Estelle, thank you very much for sharing this. Appreciate the context and the ideas. It was really, really useful. One of the things that I wanted to get your perspective on is I really like connecting 8 and 9, because a lot of times I find for myself, but also others that I work with or coach or whatever, that they're making assumptions in number 9 that they haven't tested with other people, and the assumptions could be, on or off, right? Like the classic assumption is like I've reached the top of my career here at SEI or wherever you're at, and what's driving that assumption, and have you tested that with others? Could others have a different perspective on that, or whatever the assumption is that's driving you to move on? I think those two connected I've found to be really powerful if you've got the right diverse perspectives. But any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, excellent. I mean, and very true. I mean, I think that a lot of times I kind of made a small reference to it, but I think, maintaining your progress and kind of that check-in or checking in with other people can really lead you to know when you need to do some kind of reset or big change. So it's definitely very valuable to have those perspectives to bounce your ideas and next steps off of. I think it's, yeah.
I agree. I think anything that you can do to sort of get out of your own head and assumptions and biases. And again, there's habits are not formed every day. These, we label these as habits, but they're through practice and things. So that idea of like dipping your toe into pools that you're not familiar with can really shed a lot of light on possibilities and opportunities that you might have taken for granted. Like you were saying that, I've already reached the ceiling or my potential. What else is here for me? But you made just be in a small pool and you just don't know there's a outdoor pool and you get to go. It's the temperature is really nice in that one. Sorry for the weird pool analogy.
I think you or somebody mentioned their brother earlier, and then my
Yeah.
partner, my wife, she will tell me like, you always think that. Stop thinking. I mean, stop that. You need your honest partners, right?
Right. I saw somebody mention that number 7 moves the needle for them, and I completely agree. Like saying stuff out loud and sharing it with other people just really can make it very real and just kind of get you. It's almost like helping you believe it as you do it. Like as you're saying it out loud, it just sort of, I don't know, it fuels it somehow. So I agree. I don't know if that's what you meant by it, but that's just one way it's really moved things ahead for me.
I find, and I know it's mentioned in there that it helps to make things more accountable, just by simply putting it out there to a third party, kind of thing. And I have to be fully honest, like that, it also scares me that by saying it and sharing something, it also means that, there's a bravery in sharing it. Like, don't assume that those that share it comes easily, but know that it's there can be anxiety and fear around sharing a goal, a dream, or something, because then it makes it a little bit more real, and maybe you have to actually take action on it and not just sit back here and not there's some anonymity and other things that come with like just sitting back at the mercy of life. But I think there's a power there too, because I know that when I do share things with my brother, my wife, my kids, or other things, I want to come through for them. I want to, it gives me an even, that could even be a boost of like, yep, I'm going to share this again and again and again, with my network, because by doing so, it gives me that extra, like, I want to do well, not just for myself, but for them. And if I'm willing to do the bare minimum for myself, I want to, do the best for them. So it gets me out of my own way sometimes.
I'm kind of just really like feeling really inspired by everything that you've shared today. So I want to say thank you for that. Also, Jenny, what your comment about thinking of the ideal me as something already inside you, and maybe it needs to be uncovered again, or that's a wonderful visual. I love that. And also I feel like also the goal sometimes feels like something that's a hard word, right? And so sometimes I've been trying to think about like, well, what words are smaller words that can be meaningful to me today, right now, in the moment. And just wondering if you have any ideas or thoughts on that, like other kinds of self-talk that helps you to take steps on a daily basis.
I think, yeah, steps is a good word. I love that word. Just breaking
Steps. Okay.
goals down. Excuse me. Also, I think actions, like I think we started with that, like what action can I take? Just, simply sort of giving it that lens.
Yeah, I like that too. That's helpful. Okay, thank you.
That's interesting. I feel like, when you said action, I'm like, oh, cool, because that almost like removes judgment from it. It's not like you achieved a goal or you didn't achieve a goal, but you're just taking action. Like there's no right or wrong judgment around it, right?
Right. Yeah. I agree.
And action feels more achievable to me in the moment than goal feels like, oh, maybe in a year I'll achieve my goal. But, I need to have something that I can do today. And so that actions maybe towards my aspirations, maybe that would help. Thank you. This is helpful. I want to get to my pre-COVID, weightlifting strength, and that's my current aspiration. And the goal is just, it's felt really big and like too hard to achieve, but thank you. This is helping me to think about that and think about ways to keep on it on a day-to-day basis.
One thing that I
Right.
wasn't if I was gonna bring this up or not, just because of time and things, but since we've got just a little bit of time in here, just they're talking about a goal that seems daunting or unachievable, or how do I even get to that point? There's an app that I found, or not an app, it's a web app that I heard about on TikTok the other day called goblin.tools. And one of the tools, the default tool of it, if you go to goblin.tools on any web browser, it's a magic to-do list. And if you put something, like your goal, the thing that you want to achieve, getting back to my weightlifting strength, there's a little you add it to the list, and there's a little magic wand on the right side of the item that you add. You can click the magic wand, and it uses AI to generate multiple steps underneath it that can get you, that are part of achieving that task. And if there's items inside that it generated that you're like, how do I even get to do that one? Every one of those has a magic wand it will then break it down to smaller and smaller tasks or steps to get you to those things. So that might be something to explore. That might provide some inspiration or an item or an action that you hadn't thought of yourself. So
Lots of good insight and advice coming in on the chat too. So like other words or ways to frame some of those steps: intentions, explorations, passion. I really like the one, a promise to yourself. I think that's really powerful. Making a promise to yourself about what you want to do.
All right. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time, maybe end 5 minutes early. So thank you to Justin and Estelle on this amazing presentation. I think we learned a lot. There were some really great conversations. I know I wrote down at least 5 different things I want to go research, look into. That Goblin Tools is awesome. So thank you so much for all the insights. Just a quick plug for our next session. It's going to be in 3 weeks on September 21st with Ryan Poyer. It's self-regulated learning with tips on goal setting. So very, very timely. Monitoring performance and achieving your goals. So there'll be some more information about that to come. We'll share it in Workplace and on SharePoint and with our distribution list. I also put a link earlier in the chat. If you all wouldn't mind just taking a super quick survey for us, it's 5 questions, and it's just really helpful for us to know what to do next and to evaluate our sessions. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you again to our presenters, and I hope everyone has a really great rest of your Friday Eve.